Beyond Good and Evil was released nearly 15 years ago in November 2003, just a month after the first Prince of Persia game released. The game got great reviews, but weirdly didn't sell that well. I don't know why, maybe people didn't like the art style. Maybe they saw the cover and thought, I don't want to play a photography game. Actually, look at the cover, I can see how you wouldn't know what to think about it other than, ooh, scary conspiracy. Plus, the holiday season was pretty overcrowded with games. Even Prince of Persia suffered poor sales. But that game got 3 sequels, a spin-off series, a movie, and a Lego set, so I don't know why Ubisoft couldn't get beyond a little love or even try marketing it rather than giving up and calling it a mistake 10 years later, teasing with trailers over the years and still makes its wait up 15 years and finally get serious with the sequel. Oh well, at least it's actually coming now, supposedly. Anyways, with the sequel, or prequel, on track again, I thought it'd be interesting to revisit this cult classic and explore why exactly it's loved so much, and if it's still worth playing today. I remember getting this game back when it released. It was my dad who noticed it actually. We had just gone through Prince of Persia and were looking for something new. We hadn't heard about this game or knew anything about it, again thanks to the marketing Ubisoft, but my dad noticed Ubisoft's logo on the cover. He figured since we had a good time with Prince of Persia, this new game from the same company would give a similar experience. Compared to the Prince, this was not the same. Whereas Prince of Persia was all about quick action, parkour, and platforming, Beyond Good and Evil is about stealth and espionage. And puzzles. Lots of puzzles. In terms of mobility, you aren't the most agile. Sure, you're doing backflips and crazy moves when you're fighting, but when walking around, your main character Jade feels a bit slow. You can't jump, and you can only climb up certain environments when prompted. You can roll, but it really doesn't offer any traveling speed or reason other than to just dodge attacks and get behind cover quickly. Despite this, when you're in combat, things feel pretty good. All you need to worry about is pointing towards who you want to attack and pressing A, and Jade will hit them. The game rewards you for stringing attacks across multiple enemies in the same fluid combo. Not only to get more hits in, but hitting enemies will often cancel their attack motions, meaning you can prevent yourself from getting hit. So it's kinda like guided button mashing. And regular enemies will quickly stop becoming a threat once you get good at it. And then you come to the guards, and oh boy does this game not hold back. These guys are pretty overpowered, and facing them early in the game will often mean death. It is possible to kill them, but you do very little damage against them, and it'll take a while. Not only can you not cancel their attacks, but they do double damage against you. They're fast, there's often many of them, they also throw bombs at you, and some areas have these lasers that just straight up insta-kill you. The bright side, they're as dumb as bricks. All they do is patrol the same small areas over and over again. Sometimes they even stand in place and simply turn in convenient 90-degree angles every 5 seconds. They also won't notice you unless you're standing directly in their line of sight. And here we come to the main portion of the gameplay, sneaking. Partway through the game, the levels all essentially become sneaking puzzles, in a similar vein to Metal Gear Solid. You enter a room, you find the guards and their patterns, and you find a way to get through the room undetected. Once you're behind them, you can even sneak kill them to make sure they won't be bothering you. Honestly, this is where the game shines. Sneaking feels great and easy to control, and along with the roll, you'll be pretty satisfied sneaking past these dumbasses. The game also makes it look down first-person mode often, either to take pictures or to shoot little disc thingies. This could be better. Looking around is a little hard to be precise with the joystick, especially when you zoom in. I think because there's almost a weight to looking around, it's a bit slow. It'd be a lot better if it were more snappy. And since you'll be taking lots of pictures, this gets problematic. It'd also be nice if you can move around while looking, especially when the game puts you in situations where you really need to keep moving. The camera has a pretty big role in the game, if you couldn't tell from the cover. Most of your objectives are taking pictures of things to gather evidence. What's in these boxes? Find an open one and take a picture. What do the guards look like under their helmets? Gotta go find that picture. I think thematically, it's cool. It gives you a different kind of motivation of going through the levels. It feels more exploratory rather than going from point A to B, even if you are really just going in straight lines, but we'll get to that. You also get the fun side quest of taking pictures of all the animals you find in the game. Snakes, spiders, flying manta rays, whatever this is, you name it. Each time you picture a new one, the science lady pays you some money. It feels kind of like the scanning function in Metroid Prime or completing your compendium in Breath of the Wild. You know, it's the extra world building things like this that I really appreciate in games. Not only are you directly rewarded for doing this, but each time you do, you get a little bit of info about the world and its inhabitants. So what kind of engaging information do you get for taking pictures?
Congratulations. Information on giant snails are difficult to come by.
Yeah, nothing. I really think this is a missed opportunity. A lot of these animals have interesting designs and it seemed like a lot of work went into them. I want to know more, but all you get is...
Incredible. There are still polymeruses in the region. Thank you so much for all the important information. Ah, these little medusas, light amongst shadows. Magnificent. Ordinarily, Alicias live in the water.
So that bugged me. Also, some of the animals are missable, so you really gotta be observant if you want to catch them all. Final point, for a lot of the game you drive this hovercraft, but it actually isn't terrible. It's a bit floaty by design, but it's fast enough and still easy to control. There's one part of the game where you have to do some tight maneuvering around mines that this ship really doesn't excel at, but other than that, it works. So overall, really good stuff. There are a few clunky controls here and there, and unfortunately you'll be using those often, but the core sneaking gameplay works exceptionally well. The music is pretty fantastic. All the songs are original and fit the theme of the game perfectly. They're all composed by Christoph Harrell, and honestly, I recommend you just go and listen to a playlist of all of these. You have songs like Ballad of Hillis, which is just amazing, and the bar song Propaganda, which is weird and wonderful, and this really great Spanish song that plays on the races. That's just a lot of fun. There are many great, memorable tracks, and I think they all do a good job building up the world and its culture. Voice acting in this game isn't too bad. For the most part, it's pretty natural. You do get some stiff bits in the beginning, but you'll survive. You also get a bit of chit chat back and forth while you're playing, and that's always nice. Although you quickly learn that there aren't many of them.
Just say when, Jade! Just say when, Jade! Okay, no problem.
Also, somebody thought it'd be such a good idea to have the vending machine talk to you, which, great, it can explain what all the items do.
A set of pods completely restores your vehicle's energy.
Every time.
A box of K-Bups completely the repair pod restores one
Every
red. A Starkos
time.
restores one heart. A Starkos.
And then there's the science lady who I hate more and more every time I hear her.
Crowshacks. Don't go near them, whatever you do.
Okay, thanks, but I'd really like to know what I'm looking at here, please. But overall, the sound design is on point. I love the music, and the voice actors do a good job. Playing this over again, one thing that really stood out to me was the level design. Frankly, it's excellent. The levels feel like winding mazes you're exploring, and the puzzles you're given are challenging. Best of all, it actually respects you enough to solve them. Looking at you, Zelda. A lot of the puzzles require you to think about the environment and how you can interact with it. You're rewarded for exploring, and that's just wonderful. After a while, you notice the recurring puzzle types, but it still finds ways to keep up in the challenge. Honestly, they take a lot of design cues from Zelda. The world is split up into different multi-level dungeons you have to explore, and each room presents some challenge to proceed. Maybe you need to turn this wheel, or hit this switch, or find this item to unlock the door. But as I was going through the second level, I started to wonder. This feels confusing, like I'm exploring a winding complex, and pretty non-linear, but is it actually? So how about we look in detail at the second level of the game, the factory. First off, here's the map. Looks fairly complex, right? There are 5 levels in total, each level given its own color here. Some areas span multiple levels, like this central area with an elevator that drops down into a water reserve. Now, the factory is actually split into 2 stages, floors 1 to 3, and floors 4 to 5, split off by the elevator. So from the first floor, you go up this first channel to the 3rd floor, come through, and you find yourself in this main elevator room. You need to go up, but it's been destroyed by some monster, so you gotta get it working. You now have 2 ways to go, the electricity closet and the labs. You have a choice. But hold on, you can't actually do anything here. It's a dead end. You're given this challenge with a fan that you have no way to interact with. So you go to the labs, you explore a bit, and eventually get stuck in this room. But as luck would have it, you get an item here you can use. And in a kind of Metroid style, you have to immediately use that item to escape. This isn't the first time this game has used this tactic. In the first level, there's a point where you drop down into this room with no way out. But there's a handy tool lying in a locker, and you get to immediately test it out, or rather let your friend test it out. So with the item, you can now backtrack, continue onwards, get another thing, and now you have all you need to fix the elevator. Oh, and with a mini boss in between. So I think overall, it's pretty good design, especially for an early level. And in fact, the progress you take here is linear. You don't really have a choice of how to do things, but it lets you explore and figure this out for yourself. But hold on, because it's only half the level. We still have this mess to go through. And just looking at this, it seems pretty complex, doesn't it? Going through it feels complex and disorientating with cramped corners and corridors you have to sneak through. Oh yeah, this is basically where the game shifts into full-blown sneaking. Each room is essentially a challenge to sneak through, which is really cool and fun. But as you'll learn once you're all the way through, it's essentially a straight line. There isn't actually any exploring here to do. No branches in the path to take. You start off with only one direction to go and you keep going until you get to the end. Okay, there is this portion here that technically has a branch and path. There is this door that's locked with a special code. You only get these codes once you take pictures of your objectives. Okay, so you need to remember this place and backtrack once you're able to. So, go the other way. But at the end, they plop you directly next to the door to unlock. It'd actually be worse to backtrack here because this way you're behind the guard. So I really don't count this as a branch in the path. They could have just as easily walled this off. You also get these key cards along the way, and I don't understand their purpose. Normally when you get a key in a game, it's to unlock some room or area that was previously inaccessible. Maybe you were blocked by a door somewhere along the way, and you've got to keep that in mind so that now with a key in hand, you know to find your way back and use it there. That's the kind of level design that Zelda games are typically known for. They require you to think about the layout of the level as a puzzle to navigate in itself. But in this game, you're given the key in the same room that you need it. I mean, why did they even bother? You could have easily just put a button to click here, or make the exit go through the guarded area. There's no point to this. Often you don't notice the keys at all because you hardly encounter a situation where you don't have the key you need. It's kind of a weird design choice. So this level is kind of a mixed bag. You've got a nice beginning bit, but then an incredibly linear second half. I think it'd be easy to illustrate this if I graph it out visually. The graph design I'm going to use was created by Mark Brown on his YouTube channel, Game Maker's Toolkit. If you've never heard of him, I highly recommend you go check him out. He makes excellent videos on game design, level design, and all sorts of things. I especially recommend you check out his series Boss Keys, where he analyzes every Zelda dungeon ever made. That's actually where the design of this graph came from, so full credits to him for his excellent graph theory. I just figure since we're already comparing this game to Zelda, let's go all the way with this. So here's how the graph works. Different paths you can take are represented by these lines. A square on the line represents something blocking you that you need to do something, either get a key or hit a switch, to open. These keys are represented by diamonds of the same color. Paths branching on the same horizontal line mean you can go to any one you want. You get a choice. So for the first half of the factory, this would be the design. You have 3 paths to choose from, the first one leading you onwards, but both the first and second paths have these blocks. So right away you can see that you need to get the key here to unlock the door, get the second key here, and now you can unlock both these blocks in the first path. Now here's what the rest looks like. Yeah, it's basically nothing. Technically you can put a branch here since you get to the part with the door that you need a photo to unlock, but since it places you literally in front of the door in the second path, I really don't count that. Now I'm not saying that this is a bad level, not by any means. It's still fun and challenging to play, and getting to the sneaking parts is pretty rewarding. And this isn't taking into account the local puzzles, the ones contained within the same room. I was just surprised to find out that after dissecting this a bit, it wasn't really all that complex and exploratory. For fun, let's quickly look at 2 more levels. Here's the first level, Black Isle. You basically get 1 block, this grate, and you have to go get that tool I mentioned before. So you get it, you backtrack, and you continue. Nice and simple. The third level really surprised me. Take a look at this. So the first bit is pretty straightforward stuff. You're blocked, you go and get something, you come back and continue. Same as the first level. But then you come to here. You get 3 different options to go through in any order you want. Each path has lots of local puzzles and sneaking, and at the end, you get your objective photo. Once you get all 3, you finish a level. This was by far the most interesting since you had to really think about how to get into each disconnected area. The sad part about this game is that there are only 4 major levels in total. The game could stand to be a bit longer, and it seems like it starts wrapping up just as it's getting good. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the level design. Local puzzles are challenging and really ask you to explore the environment. Finally, let's talk about game cohesion. I think this is a pretty important part of games that's always worth discussion. How well do all the elements in the game come together? You can have a game with great level design, but with a really detached story. Or just have elements that on their own work great, but don't come well together. It's what transforms the world of a video game into an organic place with depth outside of what you see and play. And thankfully, I think this is the thing that Beyond Good and Evil gets right above all else. First off, you're given a unique motivation to go through all the levels that you usually don't see. You're not going to kill a boss or gain some item, you're investigating. The game by nature is exploratory, and you can see that run through all facets of it. The fact that photography is an integral element of the game is not only really cool, but it's part of everything you do, not some tacked on feature that you use sometimes. Same with hovercraft. The game does a good job giving you reasons to use it and upgrade it. In fact, upgrading your vehicle is essentially the only way to progress in this game. The only way to upgrade is to collect orbs, which is your reward for completing objectives. You get orbs as you go through levels, as you take more animal photos, and as you explore every inch of the world and find optional things to do. So you're directly encouraged to explore this game and see what it has to offer. There aren't any useless collectibles like you get in the later Assassin's Creed games. And then the world itself is just fantastic. There's so much character. The music, the people you meet, the environments, they all make you feel like you're exploring a world with a rich history. It feels like an organic place. You can easily imagine what it'd be like to explore this world more. And I think this cohesion in Beyond Good and Evil's design is what etched its place into everybody's mind and why it's remained so popular and revered after so many years. So I think this game holds up incredibly well. I was surprised. It's still a really excellent game and honestly worth playing if you haven't. There are things that could be improved upon, sure, but this game gets everything else so right. I think everybody would have loved to see where this series went because as a first game in a possible series, there is so much potential to go further. But it seems like the sequel everybody's been waiting for is going to break away from this type of gameplay in favor of full-out space exploration. Maybe more like No Man's Sky. And I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. On the one hand, if they can do it right, it'll probably be awesome. But I'll always remember this original stealth action game for how great it was and what it could have been.